Hey everyone, Caveman here. Hey, I'm doing a video on some feedback for Illuvium. I was asked to present some ideas and just thoughts on the current state of the game, and so I decided to make a little video here. You'll also be able to find all these comments in the Discord, Illuvium main Discord, where I've posted it there. Feel free to join in and provide your thoughts on what I think, the aspects of this game are currently. Now, this video will be mostly critiques and suggestions, but as you probably watched in this video here, I'm in love with this game. I've now probably put in 500 games plus. Absolutely love what's happening here, but there are ways for improvement. And so I'm going to jump into those now. The first one I think is personally just a no-brainer. I really think this should be implemented, and this goes back to the auto chess roots, and that is the idea of evolving our alluvials. I personally think this should be a free transaction. I mean, you need to pay the difference between two. So let's take a ramp fee, ramp fight, and ramp fire. That's the three stages of that line. I think that if you're going to evolve them, go from ramp fee to ramp fight, there shouldn't be a sell cost fee. I think that you should just be able to pay the difference. So 50 mastery points to 70 mastery points, you're going to just pay that 20 mastery point fee, be able to evolve it. And then I think that's how it should play. I think that would be really cool because then you can evolve into the later games. It also adds this element somewhere in the mid game where maybe you're low on HP, they've got a Furiox, and you're wondering, hey, are they going to drop augments this round, get that huge power spike from the augments, or are they going to just play it out to the late game, evolve that Furiox to Scoriox, and then try to play you in a future round? I think that adds a whole new element to the game, and I would really, really like to see how that plays out. I personally like the idea of having those copies in your deck. It's also going to add more, let's say, value to the all tiers or all stages of those alluvials. So that's something I think should be implemented. I think it just follows the idea of auto chess and how other auto battlers work. Like I come from Team by Tactics. I've been playing since their beta launched, and I love the idea of the star system and involving those over time. And I think that we should make it easier to have that kind of implemented in ours. So that's the first idea, is leveling up alluvials or evolving those alluvials. The next one is, and this one is going to be a little controversial, and this is the idea around a variable mastery point structure. I think that the biggest critique I have for the game right now is the flowcharty feel. It really does feel like this is more of a team builder planning game than actually playing an auto chess game. I really think it just, the people who have the best teams are the ones who win. And it comes down to planning that out. And obviously you have to have a sound understanding of the board and how all these units interact, and really being able to foreshadow exactly how a situation will unfold. But I think that everyone's writing down on like a Notion file or a spreadsheet, hey, round one, I do these 3 units. Round 2, I do these units. Round 3, and then maybe they even have screenshots of exact placements. And I think that that's for 90% of the teams out there. And I really am finding that to get a little bit boring and a little dull. So I want to add something in there. And unfortunately, to add something in there, we have to implement some level of RNG. And so there were other ideas I've heard of, like adding a card draw system. I'm against that. Then it feels like we're playing TCG way too much. I don't like that. I feel like that's way too much RNG in that kind of aspect. What I'd like to see, and I mentioned earlier, a variable mastery point structure. And so what this would look like is, let's say right now it's set up rounds 1 through 3 are 100 mastery points gained in round 1, 100 mastery points gained 2, and 120 in round 3. I'd like to see it be maybe round 1 we get 75, and then round 2 we get 100, round 3 we get 120. But then the next game it's maybe 120 in round 1. I don't know what that range needs to be of like how much it fluctuates. Obviously we don't want that too much, or that'd be just that implements even more RNG than possibly a card draw system. But having some variable mastery point structure makes it harder to be able to pre-plan every little detail of your team. And then you have to actually build your team with that variety and that variance in that game. And I think that'll add a really fun element. Then you're actually, responding to your opponent, you're anticipating what they're going to place down, you're then having to take another step to calculate, okay, what can they play with our current mastery points, instead of, hey, okay, they're playing an Arcanite Air deck, I know these are the first 3 units they're going to place, or, oh, they got the Colossus and a shield, that's going to be played this way. I hate being able to predict everything, it's just so simple in some regards. So having that implemented would be great, in my opinion, and maybe not. And maybe the team's already tested this out, and I'd love to hear their thoughts on it. And maybe it's a terrible idea too. Maybe all these ideas are terrible that I'm going to be going through, but that is one that I'd like to see and hear feedback on. The next idea I'm going to bring up, and this is more just a personal preference, and maybe this is coming from League, like actual League of Legends. I loved playing like 30 to 45 minute long matches. I'd like to see our matches be extended out. I feel like this early game is a little bit repetitive, and I love the late game. I love having like a couple bit of big moves, like you're changing your positioning quite a bit. That's when I find the game is the most engaging, and it's super fun to be like, oh man, we went to round 9, that was crazy. I'd like to see that more often. And so I either think we need to implement a larger health pool. So we have like 1,500 health or 2,000 health, something like that to bump it up, or just have less damage for our Illuvials that impact on there. And I think that will also play into if we do have this evolution of Illuvials, then you can play out those later waves, really upgrading your team all together, getting into those stage 3s all around. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to play with. So that's what I'm thinking on extending the match length. The next idea actually comes from a commenter on my last video, and that's the idea of time banking. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is the best approach, but it is an interesting idea, and that's why I'm bringing it up. And so the idea is that if you finish your turn early or fast in the earlier rounds or any round really before your opponent, the time difference would be added to a pool which you can use later on if you run out of time in a later round. That would then add time to your pool, or you'd be able to draw from that pool instead of running out of time. And maybe you need to play something and you run out of time. That sucks. And you know that really presents a larger topic, and that is just time in general for Illuvium. I like to think that this game it's supposed to be as strategically deep as chess, or even more so. And that inherently requires a lot of computational time. Like, we have to think through the moves. We have to kind of try to predict what our opponent's going to do in the next round. And so realistically, you could go on the one extreme saying we should have no time limit at all, and you should be able to really think and plan out your whole thought process and everything. Now, realistically, on servers, being able to host that many, maybe that's a lot more. That is a lot more difficult than a chessboard that's just a flat 2D kind of board. So maybe that's not possible for Illuvium. And realistically, and I don't know why I keep saying realistically, but maybe that's not a good thing either, because then you're gonna have people that are waiting, and maybe they have to wait like 5 minutes for someone to finish a round, or maybe even longer. That could be a bad experience. So having that timer makes these rounds go by quick, keeps the engagement, and keeps the fun going. So finding a balance between there is key, because on the other side, there are some people who want like a 10 to 30 second round timer, and you have to be super fast. And I'm personally against that one hard, because that incentivizes comps that don't move around, or that you know exactly where they're going to be placed every time. Like a Templar Blaze Knight build where you just set up your pod on the right, left, center, and you just kind of move your units right around it. That's lame, in my opinion. I find that boring. That's why I hate empath builds in general. But I think that we don't want to disincentivize those unique comps that are utilizing the full board, using those 10,000 hexes and really, minute movements is key to their strategy being successful. And I want to make sure that that is a key in the way that Illuvium is played. So that is my ideas around time. Finding some balance in there is key. So I just wanted to bring that up. The next thing I want to bring up is the starting elo, 1,500. All right, and I'm sure players have had crazy experiences with that. That's why there are many alt accounts and Smurf accounts, because those first couple rounds at 1,500, you'll gain 200 or you'll lose 200 LP or master, whatever the ranking points are, and it can be a slap in the face. Like, especially if you lose that first one and you drop down like 1,300, it's a hard experience. And what I'm thinking, and I look back to League of Legends, since that's what I vision as the highest tier esports, and just they're the best rank queue in my opinion. They start you off at the bottom, and you have to work your way up. And I think that's a better experience, because then even if you're a moderate player or just an early new player, but maybe you have some TFT experience, you should win a couple games and then maybe lose one. And that's a better experience than lose, win. in my opinion, I think you starting at 1,500 and just dropping is just, ooh, it hurts. And you've got players like myself and others that have 300 to thousands of hours into survival mode. They know every aspect of this game, and so it makes it really difficult for that starting elo to be at 1,500. I think that should be dropped. Start at the bottom, you work your way up, and maybe it could be a high ramp, and you can move all the way up to platinum just with your first 5 placement matches. But that's my thoughts on the starting elo. This next idea comes from one of my guild members from Hype, and that is a reward mechanism or loot box for winning. And so this would play out. It could play out in many different ways, but the way I'm envisioning it is you get a win, you get some points that adds towards like a little loot box, and if you eventually win like, I don't know, 20 to 50 games or something, you would get that loot box, and then you could either open it, maybe it has like a little emote in it, or you could sell that, and then someone could either get it kind of like a CSGO loot box or whatever. I think just having some other additional dopamine element for when you get a win, it's really satisfying, and that could be relevant of what your rank is. And obviously they've mentioned they're going to add leaderboard rewards, but we want to have something like a little loot box to just add that little bit of extra dopamine. I think that's key just to keep people engaged, like a battle pass kind of system. I'm sure the team is working on something, but just wanted to mention it because one of my guild members mentioned it, and it's a good idea. Now, I do have a couple quality of life updates here, which I'm sure these will all be resolved, but one of them is just selecting units. It can be difficult, and there should be an easier way than having to really move your camera around, find that little vermi hidden underneath a Kukaraf. Like, you got to find an easier way to get these, because some people have a hard time navigating that camera, and for a time-sensitive matter, it can be really, really frustrating when you're like, oh shoot, I have to move, and you can't. You attach the wrong augment, you have to undo, you have to move your camera. It just sucks. Like that's a bad experience. We have to find a way that you can just click on a unit and get it done. And so one suggestion I maybe could work, this is purely just off the top of the head, is having the icons of Illuvials that are on the board, like maybe like left of the board, and you click on the icon, or you just drag an augment to the icon, and then they're always there, and then they just place, and then like it has a small face for like an Axodon, and you're like, okay, there's Axodon, drag the augment to Axodon, boom, it's in the same place. It's really easy to drag and drop. That way there's no problems there. The suits and ranger equipment should not be a drag and drop at all, in my opinion, anymore. When you click on the card, it just switches. I think we should just be able to easily get that instead of trying to drag it on there. The ranger also shouldn't highlight when you're trying to drag an augment to her, because or to an Illuvial. Sometimes it'll like get stuck on the ranger. The ranger should be something that's not a targetable asset in the game, in my opinion. So that's what I'm thinking there. The ranger weapon also, if you've ever like planned out your rounds and you've got like a 10 cost weapon on there, and you need to put a 70 cost weapon on there, but you only have like a 60 mastery points, and it doesn't register that you have a 10 weapon on there. So then you're like, oh shoot, it's not registering that I can trade it. So you have to unequip first, then equip. That's a little bothersome. Finding some way to just quickly for it to register that, okay, if you trade this weapon, it still will equal 70 mastery points. We have the amount of funds there to do that. That'd be a key thing in just making it feel a little bit better. The camera positioning is one that I think a lot of people have complained about, and I know that's being worked on. I just mentioned in here because a lot of people have complained that to me, and they wanted it brought up. And then filters at the bottom need to be adjusted. I think that having stage and tier are not very valuable. I never use them, but what everyone will be using is synergies. If you need a fire type, or if you need a fighter type, those should be something you can click on and quickly, set up a team so you can get those additional synergies. So that is everything that I currently have. Obviously, the game is super fresh. It's being updated. It's being iterated, and it's amazing. I truly still love playing this game, and I can't wait to see you guys again. Hey, if you like this video, if you like some of these ideas, give us a like. If you don't like these ideas, give me a like, and then comment below if you like it or not. And just let's keep this brain share going. Remember, this is a DAO building this game. We are key to providing feedback, providing suggestions to keep improving this game. Obviously, they have amazing game designers who will take these ideas and actually find the best solution. But that is what I think we're all here for, and make sure that your voice matters. Have a great day. See you guys next time.